Tanzania's President John Magufuli has dismissed the benefits of vaccines and said no lockdown is planned in his country, as God will protect the people from COVID-19. Speaking in Western Tanzania on Wednesday, Magufuli claimed homespun precautions such as steam inhalation were better than vaccines. Vaccines are not good, he said.
Boom shakalaka, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters around the world. It is your boy Christian, aka the Esoteric Noetic, aka the Chocolate Nubian Sobrada from Ghana, West Africa. Dropping the Westmatic truth bombs here in Melbourne, Australia. You know, mate, I am True Blue. I stand with Dan, Fauci, ScoMo, George Soros, Joe Christ Biden. I'm part of Team Meh. Sure to like the video, subscribe, click on the bell. Tell your friends, drop us some comments, let us know what it is. Let's get it. Ooh! Ladies and gentlemen, do I smell a conspiracy theory? Oh my God. Oh. So, as you're probably aware, or you may not be aware, no one really pays attention to what goes on in my part of the world, in Africa. But big news, in Africa, we have lost a true blue president. So the president of... let's have a look at this. The president of Tanzania died at the age of 61. John Magufuli has died, apparently to perhaps the boom shakalaka. Now, what's interesting is that John Magufuli was a staunch proponent of God and anti-masking. Would actually encourage his citizens to not mask up. Now, I'm not saying that you should listen to him, by the way. YouTube, don't get any ideas. I'm just saying what John would actually promote. Would speak about how apparently the virus, the boom shakalaka 19, had been eliminated from God and was very much against the recommendations of the World Health Organization. Now, he's one of the leaders in Africa that has actually been vehemently against a lot of the mandates. And what do you know? This guy somehow mysteriously falls victim to death. And what's interesting? Now, I'm not saying this is some kind of conspiracy theory, but it's certainly interesting. Is we find that this guy has been replaced by Samia Suluhu Hassan. She was sworn in. Just recently, just a few days ago, as the next president of Tanzania. And the interesting thing about this lady is that she is very pro everything that the World Health Organization, as you should be. I listen to everything the World Health Organization suggests because they are Lord and Savior of the entire world, right? And yeah, she's apparently a member of the World Economic Forum, and she's very much in favor of all of the restrictions. It's interesting that this man that is so vehemently opposed to everything that's going on dies and is replaced by someone that just happens to be saying the right kind of stuff. Now, there is something about conspiracy theories. I mean, one of the things that you will notice, and call it a conspiracy theory, I just call it facts, observation about what goes on in the real world, is that when you find people are speaking out about the truth, whether it is, I mean, one of the things that I used to find fascinating when I was, and I still am, deeply interested in the UFO agenda, is that you would hear figures like Phil Snyder or Bob Lazar speak about their experiences, what had gone on. They would present information that contradicted the narrative, the fact that the government was hiding pertinent information to the UFO scene. Like Phil Snyder would constantly present artifacts that were not even on the periodical table. This guy would talk about his experiences in underground bases in S4, talk about firefights with extraterrestrials. And yes, I know it sounds crazy, but had scars to prove it, was dying from cancer. And the thing is, he would speak about how there was no way he would shut up about this. And if he was mysteriously suicided, that you know that it was an assassination attempt. And he would constantly talk about how people were constantly trying to kill him, to run him over. And voila, turns out this guy ended up being suicided. And you have a look at Bob Lazar, classic example. Massive steps are taken to discredit this guy's narrative. The fact that this guy went to the university that he claims to have gone to, when all of the information, all the evidence has been deleted. Now, why would people be taking such efforts to censor someone if they were just speaking nonsense? And then you have to realize when people die in these suspicious scenarios, like why is it so so fitting that they have died, and who benefits from this? I mean, this is one of the things that you look at when you're trying to piece together reality, right? Piece together a murder case. Like, who benefits from this murder? Who benefits from this egregious act? And then you start realizing maybe there is something to these conspiracy theories. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, very fascinating when you have a look at what John Magufuli was advocating for. This guy had been a staunch advocate of what one might call conspiracy theories. Magufuli claimed last year that God had eliminated COVID in the East African country of 60 million people, Tanzania, and has since made dismissing COVID boom shakalaka his central priority, leaving many people asking why. So this guy was very anti-vax. In politics, there are generally, this is an article from The Guardian in regards to Magufuli. I think this is just before he passed away. In politics, there are generally two ways of making decisions. The first is evidence-based, weighing the pros and cons and choosing the best option, the greatest good for the greatest number of people. So essentially you're saying politics is all about communism, not respect to people's rights. It seems that does seem to be pretty accurate, right? In the sense that so many of the things that we vote on have no consideration for whether or not you should do these things. It's just a consideration of like, is this going to benefit the most amount of people? Is it right for me to lock you in your home? Is it right for me to force you to be boom shakalakad? Is it right for me to essentially control every aspect of your life, to take away your freedom because it's going to benefit the most amount of good? Oh, let's have a thought exercise. Try to figure out what we should do, as opposed to respecting people's rights. Now, the other, according to this Guardian article, is the populist approach, hell-bent against facts, science, and logic. In a global pandemic where more than 2 million people have died, that is catastrophic. So that's an interesting narrative. I mean, I would add a third that politics should be about, and I'm not saying it is about this, should be about, having conversations, but fundamentally respecting the rule of law, rights, unalienable rights. That means these are rights that cannot be changed. Your government, whoever's in charge, doesn't get to somehow suspend this through lockdowns. And it's funny where we're at right now, right? The fact that people think they can argue human rights, argue that it is justified for the government to be doing what it's doing on a legal, lawful level, is just absolutely insane. It basically means that rights, the common law, the actual law of the land, does not exist in any shape or form. If the government can circumvent your most basic rights, your ability to move around from country to country, and the ability to decide what goes into your body, I mean, essentially they can rape you, then there's basically no argument to be made in favor of rights. Essentially, it is what this article alludes to. Basically, politics is just a case of debating whether or not you can suspend everyone's rights in the interest of the greater good. Anyway, the Tanzanian president seems to be taking populism to a whole new level. So this would have been posted a while back. It seems like a lot of people, at least the West, had an issue with what this guy was doing. Interestingly enough, he's no longer a problem. Maybe he is under the influence of the same rabid anti-lockdown social media messaging that has persuaded some of my family and friends that Bill Gates or 5G has created the virus. This is according to this article, by the way. I'm not reporting this, YouTube, just in case you get any ideas. But regardless of Magufuli's cavalier motivation, these stances are a danger to public health. People are being exposed to suffering and in some cases death. And one could argue that people are being exposed to hardship, suicides, ruining of their businesses, which is destroying their lives because of the measures that are being imposed, because of the information advocating that this thing is extremely dangerous. Now, I'm not saying, by the way, it's not, but realistically, I think one could make the argument that these lockdowns have done a lot more harm than actual good. When you have a look at the suicide rates increasing drastically here in Melbourne, Australia, mate, and around the world. he knows. Oh, so it turns out John Magufuli knew the Ghanaian former president, John Rawlings, who died from the virus. Oh, they're saying he died from the virus. It seems everyone's dying from the virus. So too his former Congo Brazzaville president, Jacques Joaquin Yombi Opango. It seems everyone in Africa is dying. Someone gets run over by a car. Oh, let's do an autopsy. It seems like you died from a car accident, but I will put this as you died from the boom shakalaka, so I can get a big fat check. Just jokes, YouTube. Just jokes. Don't get any ideas. But yeah, look, realistically, mate, everyone is dying from this thing. People need to start taking this seriously. As this article says, there have been millions, apparently 2 million people that have died. So I'm sick to death of people like John Magufuli that are advocating for people not wearing masks. I mean, what is wrong with you people? Seriously, do people in Africa, do you listen to the mainstream news? Why don't you watch CNN and BBC? You need to start listening. My fellow Africans, I want you to start paying attention to the news. No, mate, look, I for one, support my fellow Africans. Africa seems to be one of these continents that is having a lot of resistance to the narrative. A lot of the people there, from what I'm hearing, are still very much concerned, have certain reservations in regards to the boom shakalaka, as we're finding in many other European countries. I mean, the last time I checked, the Astra boom shakalaka has been rejected from quite a number of countries. I think it's up to about 14 countries. So it seems like Africa is also very apprehensive. Just stating the facts here. But anyway, in regards to John Magufuli, it does seem that like this guy was very much against the narrative, and I think it's quite fitting that he's no longer here. Now, obviously, it is a tragedy when we lose any great pillar of society, someone that is standing in the truth. And it certainly makes you think about what is going on when you see that so many of these people that are speaking out, they don't seem to be here with us for too long. Now, just in other news, one of the things I wanted to briefly mention that I find unbelievably indicative of the crazy times that we are in right now is it's what's going on in Sweden. Now, well, I don't want to say that this speaks for all of Sweden, but apparently a well-known figure, a Norwegian, sorry, not Sweden, Norway, Scandinavian. I love my Scandinavians. Now, from what I understand, there is obviously a lot of resistance in Sweden in regards to, the narrative. And I would love to know what's going on in Norway, because if this is telling of what the general status quo is, this is very concerning. Now, the Norwegian journalist says she'd love to die from the AstraZeneca boom shakalaka if it helps win the war against the corona. So, Norwegian TV presenter Lynn Wilk has proclaimed that she would love to die from AstraZeneca's COVID boom shakalaka if her sacrifice would help ease public concern over the inoculation and win humanity's war and the pandemic. This is the sentiment of the 21st century, it seems. It's like, I'm willing to sacrifice myself, to plunge myself into the sacrificial sword if it'll help everyone else. Now, look, I would say if you want to do that, yeah, if you think it's a good idea, by all means, but if you want to force other people to do that kind of stuff, well, then you move into the realm of, oh, you're an evil person. I mean, altruism is all good and well, but when you want to have forced altruism, that becomes evil. If I want to force you to fucking kill yourself so that you, well, I'm not saying, by the way, that she's trying to get people to kill themselves, but this is an analogy that if someone wants to somehow force you to sacrifice yourself because they perceive that this is going to help other people, that's the very definition of immoral to me. I mean, because evil people always make arguments like that. There is no horrible evil thing that has been done historically where the evil person hasn't said, oh, look, I'm doing it for the greater good. Genghis Khan, I'm killing millions of people in order to bring the world together. I mean, this is the slogan of tyrants. Oh, look, mate, it's for the safety and it's for the greater good. And I could mention some names historically that have had this mentality, but I think you get the idea. Some must be sacrificed in the war against the corona. Wilk wrote, how appropriate. So it's kind of like she's inciting people to be sacrificed. Look, Wilk wrote on Monday in an opinion piece for Norway's TV2, that's the way it is in all wars. This time it may well be me, her headline stated bluntly. I would love to die for the AstraZeneca vaccine. This is the headline. Wilk's dramatic take on the vaccine came amid rising concerns over possibly serious side effects from AstraZeneca's jab. Use of the product has been suspended or restricted in a dozen European countries after some recipients suffered serious conditions after receiving the jab. This is what RT is saying, by the way, YouTube. It's not what I'm saying. Now, I trust everything that pharmaceutical companies want to suggest. I think we should always listen to the science that's funded by massive industries. I love it. I am obviously going to try something that has not been around for a very long time because I always do as I'm told. I'm on team meh. In Norway, one health worker died from a cerebral hemorrhage and 3 others were... All right, I don't think I can read this article. This is too damning. Sorry, RT. I don't trust you. I think this is fake news. Moving on. Yeah, it's interesting that we live in a world where the sentiment is, don't take care of yourself. Don't have your own sovereignty at focus. Sacrifice yourself for the state. Sacrifice yourself for the greater good. That is what we find within a communist society. Now, granted, they won't openly tell you that. They'll just tell you that, look, you're being selfish, because unfortunately, communism on some social level still has this remnant of being associated with horrible acts because of history. So a lot of people aren't comfortable using that word, but it seems that socialism, on the other hand, seems to be a lot newer. Let's call it socialism, but fundamentally, it's just a branch of the same tyrannical Orwellian state, circumventing your freedoms for the greater good, the denial of all objective morals in the pursuit of strategies. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to leave you with a tweet that I really think sums up the status quo, the times. And I would love to hear what you think about it. So according to Stephanie Iris Wise, I'm ready. Send all the refuseniks out on a garbage barge, or at least stop them from entering all public and private spaces. They don't deserve to mix with those of us who care enough about the community to get boom shakalakad. When there is a deadly virus, boom shakalakas should be mandatory. And the thing is, this actually is the sentiment of many people. I know this because I'm on social media. I recently posted some videos on my TikTok just dealing with the question of whether I should be able to decide what goes on in my body. And the overwhelming amount of comments from so many of these teeny boppers, these Generation Zs that have no understanding of basic objective lore, are advocating for this kind of stuff, that you somehow need to be forced to be boom shakalakad. And people that want to strawman this, that, you're being selfish, the very heart of this is that you're committing violence on someone. You're forcing someone, you're inciting a state, a third party, nonetheless, asking someone to come and force someone, rape them essentially, because you're concerned about what happened. And those that want to make this disingenuous argument that you're being violent by not being boom shakalakad, that is not only unwise, but it is just an absolute and utter disingenuous statement. By that kind of logic, you can say that essentially anything that you do, for instance, whether or not you want to step into a public space, or God forbid, ride your bike, should not be allowed because it has the potential to cause harm. That kind of appeal to potentiality is at the very core of what people are advocating for, that subscribe to this communist nonsense that is creating this problem. People won't make a separation between actual violence and appeals to potentiality, this nonsense of, look, I feel like you're endangering me. I don't feel safe. I mean, we even have leaders now, rulers, or I would just say, crazy people in parliament, like one of the members of the Greens party just recently saying that perhaps we should consider having a vote on whether men should not be allowed out after 6 p.m. because of an incident that happened. I think it was a Sarah Everard. I could be wrong with the name, but the bottom line is this woman was supposedly murdered by a man, And as a result, men should no longer be able to go out because, well, there's the potential that a man might do something horrible. We are living in this world of potentiality. Welcome to the world. There's always the potential that, hey, some big black man may come and hurt you, with his big long schlong. And that doesn't mean that I should somehow be dismembered. Or maybe it does under this new worldview. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, let us know what you think. Share this video. Every time you share this video, I have a big smile on my chocolate face. Until next time, check out the Telegram group. Peace out, keep it real, don't drive and text. Oh, and be sure to check out the protest if you get this message, if you get this video in time. There is a worldwide rally going on in regards to marching against mandatory boom shakalakas. It's going down if you're in Melbourne at 12 p.m. You can find the details. Just do a bit of a search on the interwebs, yo. By the way, Popo, I'm not behind the organizing for this. I am just going there in the capacity of a journalist just to observe. I don't support what any of these conspiracy theorists are doing. But ladies and gentlemen, seriously, come check it out. I think it's just a good opportunity just to come together in solidarity. I don't personally think that these protests are going to have much sway unless, of course, we start seeing actual millions of people march against this, because unfortunately the status quo does not seem to be in line with what so many of these freedom-loving conspiracy theorists are doing, and are just going to continue marginalizing these protests as just a few hundred loony people that don't represent the status quo, and therefore it's it's justified for them to erode the unalienable freedoms and violate our constitutional rights, regardless of where you might be. Or our natural rights. This is not just an Australian or Commonwealth thing. This is a universal thing. It doesn't matter if you're in the United States, Australia, Sweden, Japan, you're Norwegian. This is all about your basic human rights. No government, no entity has the right to violate you because it's concerned about keeping you safe. Like, government has become this antithesis to freedom, to morality. And that, my friend, is not something that I am down with. The chocolate Nubian, the esoteric noetic. Until next time, Suri Namaskara. Signing out. Peace out. Keep it real. Ow!
What is liberty?
What the? Who says you can't build muscle on a vegan diet?
What's it like being a hottie in the vegan community?
There are no political solutions, only technological ones.
The economics of the system don't allow multiple competing systems to survive.
Engineering, technology, these arts of humanity, they are magic.